So hopefully we're recording this session. We've had sessions on law enforcement and campus policing. Tonight's session on the Black student experience of Reinhardt. Next month, we'll be talking about the steps to dismantle racism. In October, we'll be talking about symbolism and race. In November, we'll be talking about faith and race. And in January 25th, we had such a high impact and a lot of conversation about law enforcement and campus policing. We're actually going to talk about criminal justice and race and take that conversation we had earlier in July forward and have more of a more depth conversation. One thing that we will talk about, why are we here? What do we mean by dialogue? Dialogue is a forum that draws people, participants together in a community to exchange information face-to-face, actually virtually for us, to share personal stories and experiences, honestly express perspectives and clarify viewpoints, and develop solutions to community concerns. We really want to have kind of a listening deeply to understanding, inviting discovery, allowing all our participants to express their own points of views, question relevant and reevaluate our assumptions, develop common values, grow in understanding, decide how to act together for the common good. Some of the ground rules as we move into this. We want to listen deeply. We want to share airtime. We want to be considerate of our language and presume the positive intentions of everybody. We also want to be responsible for ourselves, and we will not blame or shame others or self. We will have grace with others and yourself. We learn to be in discomfort. Accept one another's realities, challenge yourself, and respect the confidentiality of the stories and people we give. And ultimately, we want you to take care of ourselves through this process. There are some campus resources I do want to mention. These are often conflicting and very challenging topics we talk about. We have a wonderful student health center on campus with counseling services available for individuals. If you ever have thoughts, concerns that are brought up in these sessions, please encourage you to reach out to our counseling center, and there's the website for them. They're available to help you. Tonight's topic is the Black student experience at Reinhardt. Where the goal is sharing ideas of how to make Reinhardt a more inclusive environment. We also explore the Black student experience at Reinhardt. But your voices and your contributions are essential to take actionable steps to move forward to create a better campus community for all, especially our students of African American descent. Our moderator for today is Kenneth Whipple. She is a marketing strategist and writer with 19 years of communication industries. She has been engaged in community and media relations, corporate communications, events and communication planning, crisis management. Originally from Los Angeles, she's worked at careers in public relations agencies from Sony to Motorola. She also worked in entertainment and nonprofit sectors. While working for the American Cancer Society, Kenneth served as a mission delivery manager for Cobb County, Cherokee County, and Douglas counties, and was a corporate diversity trainer for the Southeast Division. Kenneth holds a bachelor's degree in public relations from Pepperdine University. He is currently pursuing a master's in communication management from the University of Southern California. Our other moderator tonight is Judah Norman, who is a student here at Reinhardt. She, I believe, is a sophomore and is the president of Dreams. And tonight's panelist, tonight, I'm really excited and thrilled to have a number of these individuals back and had a lot of experience with them. First is Dr. Kenneth Wheeler, a professor of history here at Reinhardt. I'm one of your panelists, but I'm actually going to sit back and listen more so I can better understand the experience. Dr. Melanie Bourne, who's a recruiter for our professional studies. Denisha Austin, who's an alumnus of Reinhardt, also works in financial aid and is an advisor for Dreams. Sterling Sykes is an alumnus. Devontae Wynn is an alumnus. Daryl Arnold is an alumnus. Christopher Williams is an alumnus and former student body president. Jamie Palmer is an alumnus and also a former student body president. Jordan Norma is president of Dreams. Luis Gonzalez is our current student body president. And Simone Williams is a student, I believe, a member of the women's basketball team. So I'm going to turn this thing over to Judah and to Kenneth, and they will let them lead this thing off. Sharing. All right. Unmute everybody. All right. Okay, everybody. I've unmuted everybody. I'm going to let Kenesha and Judah head forward.
All right. Can you hear me okay, Dr. May?
Yes. Yes.
My roommate's trying to get in. He can't get in.
All right, hold on one second. All right. There's more people coming in. All right. All right.
Okay.
Judah and.
All right. Thank you all for attending. I think this, as Dr. May said, this is one of the largest groups that we've had so far, and that's very exciting. Today, or this evening, we're here to talk about the Black student experience at Reinhardt. This includes the Black student relationship between faculty, among one another, their peers, and how students feel about the university's current level of support for students of color on campus. So tonight we'd like to have, as Dr. May said, an open and honest conversation about the experiences people currently have on campus and the direction we may want Reinhardt to look toward. So as Judah and I were preparing for this evening, we thought it would be good just to start with a basic question, and there's so many people here to kind of chime in. We wanted to start off with something very basic. What is a Black student experience at Reinhardt? And there's so many people, I don't want to start calling on names, so you guys can just kind of chime in. And I know that we're going to keep our eyes on the chat to answer as many of those questions as we can as well. So. Judah, you want to kick it off?
Yes, I guess I'll kick it off. Yeah. So far at Reinhardt, I feel that, at least in my experience anyway, it's kind of been welcoming. There have been incidents that kind of sprung up in the midst, like especially last year, there was a few incidents with the teachers where microaggression kind of slipped out. And a lot of the Black population in the musical theater department did not really take that lightly. And it turned into a Title IX investigation, actually. And it was the talk of the campus for a while. And I know that the entire event and how everything kind of just happened still kind of sits. It doesn't really sit too well with students who were there when it happened. So a summary is basically what happened when a teacher, again, a microaggression slipped.
I'm sorry. Judah,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Dr. May, you are probably as close to Christy on this one as we can. We continue with this since it was a Title IX investigation?
Yeah, we probably need to kind of brief over that one a little bit, just because that's a privacy issue for the people involved with that one.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I can follow up with another question that can kind of lead into another direction here. If there are cultural issues on campus that students may experience, what steps do students have in order to report it? I think that probably is a fair question, Denisha, if we can't get, close to the, too close to the other topic here. But that also addresses, some of the concerns, and may address some of the concerns that students have as well.
We have a number of ways to report issues, from harassment to diversity to, racist issues on campus. One is primarily through, we have a online grievance form that students can fill out, and it comes actually to the students, i.e. me, or just email me, or and we will investigate the matter. It depends on what the case is, if it's a Title IX type case, or if it's a harassment, racist, other topics. But we will address it and investigate everything.
Okay.
Good question.
I'm looking at everyone's face. I hate to call on people. Judah, feel free to call on folks.
I'm sorry. I feel like
I was kind of leaving room for other people to put their input.
I'll say,
I'll say this, like my Reinhardt experience was a little bit different. I was heavily engaged in student activities. And so that was, I feel like to me, that was an outlet to where I could really express myself and like bring culture to other aspects on campus and work with people of different cultures to better understand, their perspective and what, where they come from and what they do. And so I feel like that was big for me because I'm from a small town. And so it was great to have an experience like that to where I could learn about all the international students and where they come from and kind of talk about our differences as a whole.
Yeah, I could elaborate on that. Mostly, I guess, one of the problems, I guess, they wouldn't really, when you ask the question of what things you can report, it's mostly not things that you need to report. It's just a disconnect. And there's a disconnect between basically understanding where you come from and how culture is different basically off of where you come from. So, like, I guess when you could say you're engaged in everything, and it'd be easier if you come from a certain area, just because I wouldn't say our school is diverse, but it's diverse in the way that it's with the faculty and stuff like that. They come from, I wouldn't say they wouldn't come from past of hardship and stuff like that. It's just they don't come from, when you talk about like the Black community and stuff like that, they don't come from those type of communities, so they don't understand how things are where they come from. So whenever situations come up and they may talk about certain situations, there's a disconnect in communication basically, and so that serves up problems. And then once you have that first disconnect, it just gets worse and worse instead of having a way to mend that bridge. I guess since it's a university, people don't think like, a faculty and stuff like that. It's, even though it's a small university, you're in college, so you need to be able to do that yourself. But sometimes just maybe a baby step in the right direction might help you. And I've seen some, I'm not saying all faculty are like this, because I've seen situations where this happened, but whenever situations pop up, I feel like that's one of the biggest problems, I guess you would say, but not really a problem. It's just a disconnect. And with that disconnect is where things come from.
Absolutely. It's like a cultural and generational disconnect at the same time.
I agree.
I definitely agree with that too.
So I think really just having a way to, if I guess some teachers do have a way where they email the student and stuff like that, and then they'll talk to them, but there's only so much they can do as faculty. But I'm not saying that they don't do these things, but I've seen in other situations where students, I guess they're trying, but they don't, there's some kind of disconnect in the class. And then after that, it's just everything's downhill and they give up basically. So basically just having a moment where you can help the student, where he's made it to the situation where he's enrolled in school. He might not come to class every day and stuff like that, and which is not acceptable and stuff like that. But just having the connect, just to understand why you're doing this.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, just being at a smaller university, I feel like it's more possible than if you went to a bigger D1 where you have 200 plus kids in your class. That it's more possible having the smaller classes. And I understand that the workload for faculty is something that makes it hard, but at the same time, I feel like it's something that could be worked out.
I was just going to say, to your point, I'm not sure how many members of faculty we have on the call, but I wanted to ask if that has been your experience
my stomach
as
is not
well,
like muscularly tight. It's like, I thought that
or
you sprints would do
if
it.
that has been your experience, or you think that there's a solve for that, if there's something that, faculty can do to kind of help bridge that
I'm
gap.
on you, but it's like
I
vibrating.
apologize. Somebody's microphone is on.
I guess it's more like I'm not saying there's plenty of faculty at Reinhardt that do more beyond a great job. But I just there's just
Right.
like the certain small, minute situations and things like that. I guess it's more just like understanding the background of each, and like not really, you don't have to go into a whole detail, but like just understanding where they come from and how cultures are, and different things. Like not taking offense to the first bad thing that happened, and then putting that kid on the bad list basically is one thing that you could do. But I mean, besides that, I'm not saying all faculty members do that or anything like that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
that's one thing, situation I think that can happen. And just, I guess, taking the step, because sometimes we're all young adults, we're all learning the situation. Sometimes they need that push into society, basically, from someone. Maybe you could become a mentor or advisor for them. You never know. You just got to talk to them.
Absolutely.
There needs to be more of that flow of communication and more of an incentive to try and just make sure you're keeping a general level of connection between faculty and students.
I'm looking at faces here. I'm thinking on who to call on here to also get their experience. I don't know if anyone wants to chime in before I start, naming names.
Let me ask a question with that. My name's
Please.
Dr. Melody Bourne. I'm actual recruiter, business development person. I also teach diversity classes at another university at the master's level. And I'm actually one of the courses that I teach. So my class is there. I teach online, obviously. It's out of Texas. And the very first week, one of the assignments, and so my students are typically in their 30s, maybe 40s. So these are experienced working adults, and many of them have military experience, as do I. I did 21 years in the Army. So there's all kinds of things, because even though we used to say we're all green, no, there's still racism and discrimination. It doesn't matter. We try to all work together. But in this course that I teach, I start them off with doing a self-assessment, and then they discuss it and write about it on, say, white privilege. So, and there's a lot of people. I had one white gentleman in my class that when he wrote his paper, he never thought he had white privilege. He thought, I work hard for my job, I earned my degree, nobody handed me anything. But after doing this exercise, it opened up his eyes and he saw.
Professor Bourne, you're on mute.
Maybe my
There you
hand
go.
touched that. Thank you so much. I don't know what you missed on me.
You said after he did that.
Right, he didn't realize.
Me again.
Me again.
Okay, let me not breathe on it. So he realized that he did. It was the bottom line. So I'm wondering if some of these instructors, some of these teachers, if they're not used to, or they don't come from the same cultural background, I'm wondering if they know how they're acting or reacting. I wonder if they actually know not the intentional harm, but maybe the harm that is creating. And if so, my question would be, is there an anonymous way, if nobody is willing to just talk to that teacher one-on-one, that we might be able to let them know? Because sometimes people do things and they're so used to doing it their way. And you talked about generational, so that, when you do something for so long your way, you might not be thinking about new people coming in from different backgrounds, and maybe there's something that we could do to create a way to shed the light for them as well. What do you think?
That's an excellent question. I'm looking at people who may be faculty at Reinhardt to chime in on that.
This is Mark Roberts. I think what you're talking about there, Melody, is unconscious bias, which I think Harvard has actually created a survey to help self-assess one's unconscious bias. I haven't done it myself, but I do believe that Dr. Gregory may know more about that in particular. I've heard him talk quite a bit about that. But I do think that there's a number of issues going on that that Sterling talked about. It could be as multi-layered in the sense of it could be unconscious bias toward race. It could be not fully understanding first-generation students. It could be that generation divide between 18 to 24-year-olds, and your professors are typically somewhere between 40 and 70, really. So there could be a number of distortions that are creating this feeling, all right? And I'm not saying that anyone should be excused for these things, but I do agree that, you know, Melody, that there may be a way for us to do training for faculty and even students and staff on what are their unconscious biases? What are biases that they have that they don't really know that they have? That would probably be a good thing for everyone, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well, because sometimes a teacher might not even realize, you know, what they're doing. You just don't know. So it's just something to consider, I would think, maybe for students and faculty or staff even.
And there are trainings for cultural sensitivity. I'm one of the professors. I'm younger, but one of them, not in that 40 range, and also Hispanic. So, but I don't necessarily look it. So sometimes assuming one way or the other of what somebody's life is or who they identify as can also put up barriers on both ends. So professors assuming something about the students, vice versa, which is, I think, a little part of this conversation as well, because when we make those assumptions, they're based on our own personal biases and experiences, but we grow from kind of creating that dialogue and being brave, which is something that I think is missing with certain elements when we talk about race and culture and what that really looks like. So.
Well, you're also, you know, when you, you know, what's great about a dialogue like what we're experiencing right now is that the power structure that you typically have in place, whether that's a power structure between a professor and a student, or I see Will Carlin down there, between a judge and a defendant, or any kind of system that sets up a power structure in this kind of dialogue where we are supposed to be open and equalize the playing field to have that kind of discussion. And we have to lean into discussing difference, right? I mean, that is the key piece of all this. If we can't lean into discussing difference, you know, with civility and with respect, we're never really going to understand each other, right? We're never going to really understand those differences, or even come to a more conscious understanding of maybe our own prejudices, our own discriminatory behaviors, our own, even our own, you know, racism. So, you know, I think these types of conversations are extremely critical, especially for a university. And I just have to give kudos again to Dr. May for making these types of dialogues happen. These are very important, and thanks to all of you for joining them. They've been very, very stimulating for me intellectually, and I think just good overall for our entire community. So thanks to all of you for being willing to have these discussions.
One thing I thought about was we have Dr. Kenneth Wheeler, our history professor here at Reinhardt, who actually studied the history and integration of Reinhardt. I don't know if you want to do a quick little snapshot of what that was like and that change for Reinhardt, Dr. Wheeler.
Sure, I'm happy to say a few words. you know, Reinhardt was not an integrated school until 1966. And in 2016, 50 years after that, we brought back our first Black student to Reinhardt, Jay Jordan, and had a very nice program. And just hearing him talk about his experiences was, it was very heartening. And some of what we're interested in, I think, is in structural change, and I completely am sympathetic with that. But Jay Jordan also said that a lot of what made him part of Reinhardt was that people were just friendly toward him. They engaged him in conversation, and it wasn't necessarily in the beginning conversation about race, but they were just saying hi, and they made eye contact. And for someone who had grown up as Jay Jordan had, in Cherokee County, but mostly in a world that was, socially all Black, coming to Reinhardt was it was anxiety producing. And so to find some students and professors and the president of Reinhardt who set the tone from the top of welcoming and acceptance, it made a huge difference for him and for Black students who came in subsequent years. So some white students invited Jay to join their campus organizations. They invited him to their dorm room for study sessions or to listen to records. So there was just an engagement on campus, and that sort of environment that was certainly partly just friendly students, but also friendly faculty members who sometimes, a lot of faculty members lived in Waleska or on campus, and they would sometimes have Black students to dinner. And it also came from the president, who was very clear that, Reinhardt was going to integrate, and that the Christian ethos and connection of the school meant that we needed to see each other all as brothers and sisters. And I think that made a difference then, and I think we're in a different era now and a sort of a different stage of Reinhardt's development. But I don't think that those experiences that Jay Jordan had in 1966 and 1967 are entirely irrelevant to our current situation.
Ms. Whipple, I wanted to bring attention that someone in the chat, where is it? Evan Quinones asked if.
Yes, I was just looking at that. Yes. He asked if he could make a comment. I don't know if he's on mute or if he is able to speak.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Oh, hi, Evan.
I'm Evan Quinones. I am a transfer student from Chattahoochee Tech. And, ever since this has happened, everything that's been good, this has been going on since America was made. And I feel like it's so awkward talking about this, but at the same time, this is a huge problem. Look what happened yesterday. Look what happened yesterday. That's not right. But my thing is, people need to realize that privilege is it's not about money in this situation. It has to do with your skin color. And how can we as white people use our privilege to help out? Because it really bothers me, because I come from I'm the minority at my high school, the high school I went to. I went to Marietta High School in Marietta, Georgia. And it just really bothers me that, I never saw it this way because I've never had to experience it, but it happens racism happens everywhere. And how can we all, as white people, help people of color, and just how can we all come together and use our privilege to help you guys out? I'm having anxiety, obviously, right now saying this, but what I'm getting at is, how can we help out?
And Evan, just for clarification, because I think I know what you're referring to, but there may be someone on the call who may not be as clear. You said something happened yesterday. Are you speaking about what happened in Milwaukee, or could you give more detail about
Absolutely.
what you're referring to?
What happened in Milwaukee? It's just a cycle. But the thing is, this is just the media catching it. This has been happening for over 100 years. It's just ridiculous to me, and it hurts me as a human being, because I'm one person. Individualism equals collectivism, and I'm one person out of so many white people that never realized this. And I was like, I have to take a step back and understand, even if I don't know, I need to take a step back and what can I do to help people with my privilege. And I've done that all summer. I've gone to protest, peaceful protests, I've gone to multiple stuff, and it's just sign petitions. That's the biggest thing, the change petitions. And it's just, I'm having anxiety right now, because I never saw this, because I've always been friends with minority groups of people. And I was always the minority at my high school, at Marietta High School. And yeah, that's just my thing. How can we, as white people, help minority students, specifically right now, Black students, because this is huge right now. This is not okay what's going on.
One thing that I think is kind of just prevalent is the fact that all this toxicity that has been breeded over the past 4 centuries has kind of created a paradigm of fear for people. One individual doesn't want to interact with another group of people, and vice versa, because of past experiences and because of all this toxicity that has resulted from internalized and systemic racism in America. And I think the main thing is just breaking that cycle of irrational fear. And, one thing that you can do is, introduce other white people to some of your friends who are minorities or have a different identity, or, just kind of take some time to introduce them to your friends, help them get to know people. And then that'll eventually just that genuine flow of kindness will kind of pass on to other people. And, when one person does something, the rest will follow. So if you just kind of take that initiative to help introduce them to more people and introduce who they are to more individuals who might be unaware or have just lived kind of in a bubble and just don't know, it will kind of help to start the process of people being able to open up and being willing to learn more about people who aren't like them. It's all about just kind of helping people break that cycle of fear and that paradigm of, what if something bad happens?
For me, it's communication. And it's just, across cultures, it's just the fact that we try to stay to ourselves, similar to what she was just saying. And the more we communicate amongst each other, we have a better understanding of where each other's background is and things that may be triggers. Because that in itself is kind of key. Like, if you don't really know someone's cultural perspective, you don't necessarily know what may trigger them or what may not. And the more you expose yourself to a different culture, the more you understand what may make someone uncomfortable or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. The most thing you do is just understanding that there's something, just understanding others. You sit down and understand what their backgrounds, the events that's happened in their life, and respecting the things that actually happen to them. This understanding and taking the steps that other people are different and people have different experiences, and understanding that everybody's not the same. And it just understanding and respecting how they act and react to different situations is how you could take the step. Just taking the step to understand that people are different and we can do things better. Just understanding and respecting if you understand the different actions that happen to them, you can understand and respect them and make sure those same situations don't keep reoccurring over and over again. So just taking the step to understanding others is what is a major step that everyone needs to do.
Exactly. I completely agree with that. I'm going to jot that one down. I'm going to jot all these down. Thank you guys for putting me back, and I'm going to continue to listen. You know, Black Lives Matter.
Absolutely, man. It takes courage to do what you did.
Oh, Ms. Whipple, I was just going to say I'm minding the time. Is there another question that you wanted to ask for people to kind of give their thoughts on?
Right. So I'm looking at the chat now, and I on my screen, I'm going to scroll up to the top. And this is from Jack H. And the question is, what does one do if someone is not treating a student fair? How can we as students speak on this without feeling the fear of what people might say? And I think, Dr. May, you kind of addressed that earlier, but, you know, I wanted to put that out there as well. So he wants to know, or the student would like to know, how can a student speak for themselves without fear of any kind of retaliation? Or
Most definitely. That's a great question, a very fair question. It's oftentimes scary, intimidating to, if you experience an issue with faculty, staff, student, whatever, it's very intimidating, very offsetting for the student. And so, you know, reality is a number of places to come forward, either through our student health center, through the counseling office. You could approach our Adam Powell or our other intern counselors there. They can bring that up there, and, you know, they can funnel the right information appropriate to us, but it's not privileged. Or most, you know, what I always say is, come to the student's office. You know, I'm here. I'm your chief advocate for no matter who you are, what your background is. And my job is to be your advocate and to address issues and wrongs.
very good. Thank you for that. I do have another question for the students there about how they feel, not just within the Reinhardt community, but as they, you know, go out into the local area. You may see rebel flags in the community. How does that environment affect how you feel about your college experience, or, you know, how you feel about the area that you're in? And excuse me, I talk with my hands, so I can't help it.
I mean, just as a white student, I just, it's so gross to me. It's just disgusting. First of all, for starters, we lost the war. The Confederacy, the Confederacy lost the war. Why are their flags still hanging up? It makes zero sense to me. I understand there's history and stuff, blah, 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 but there shouldn't be stuff like that up. And it really gets under my skin when I see stuff like that, especially in Paulding, Cherokee, and Cobb County. Those are the three major ones you see. Those are the three counties that you see those at. And it really ticks me off.
I live in Cobb County, so I understand what you're saying.
So I just, you know, I'm all ears right now, but this is something that I've been trying to pay attention to more and more since this summer, basically. And it breaks my heart.
Any other thoughts on that?
Should I start calling on somebody?
You sure can.
I'll volunteer for you, Judah. I can safely say that's one of the things that parents often comment on when they come into my office. As they drive in, that's a great concern for them. So I never have to sell Reinhardt, really, because Reinhardt truly sells itself. Everyone's comfortable in the community, on the campus, once they actually enjoy the experience that is Reinhardt. But as parents are leaving their children on our campus, one of the main things that African American parents want to know is, Miss Austin, are my students going to be safe here? Is it going to be okay for me to leave my children here? They can tell me exactly the point when they saw the rebel flags in the community. And I know exactly where they're seeing it at as well. kind of curious as to how the students feel about that as well.
I see Sean Duffy would like to speak on this topic here. I'm looking for his face.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Sean.
I would like to speak. You know, we all have different past experiences, and we might have not experienced the same thing, and we've never walked in each other's shoes. And somebody might go through something very traumatic, very hard, and there is a threat, and the threat is hate. The threat is disconnection. And just like this picture I just pulled up, maybe y'all can see it. There is a difference between a deer and an antelope, but there's one commonality that they have is that a big cat will hunt them down and kill them. And fear is a threat that kills each other, and it kills us. And a deer and an impala or an antelope might be different just by appearance, but there is a threat, and the threat is that hate. And to think if we don't come together because of differences and what we've experienced, and the only way to come together is through love, is through kindness and sharing just compassion to one another, because it's true, we don't walk in each other's shoes. Like, I've been through something that somebody else might go through differently, and that might even be because of the color of our skin. But what we share is the ability to love, and we have to break down walls. We have to love each other. We have to come together because we experience the same things. We experience feelings, emotions. We experience relationship, and we also experience trauma and fear. And there is a big cat. There is a lion out there. And the way that lions are driven off is by keeping together in a big herd. And I think, yeah, there is so much fear in the media, and there's just so much fear in our history. And it's so sad to look into our history and see how much we've been against each other, just as people and factions and groups and individuals as well. And there's just one thing that we have to keep in mind is that we're here together for a reason. Like, we're here together. We walk together. Like, even on campus, we walk by each other every day. There's not a difference in where we walk. It's just how are we going to listen to each other? Are we going to look past teachings and feelings? Are we going to get past that obstacle? Because there is such a fear. Myself especially, like, I feel that same fear, just even talking about the subject. And it's so strange to bring up. It's like, why do we have such a fear of that? Because we can make a difference now. Like, we can make a difference and just live in harmony. And yeah, I guess the one thing I just want to say is love and kindness. We don't know where people have been, just how we can make a difference going forward, and just sharing and loving each other. It's all about love. That's all.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I wanted to add, I see a comment here, and they co-sign with what you just said, Sean, from Morgan Friedman, who said, I don't think that you can rewrite or change history, but you can start today by creating a better future. And so it goes along with what you were just saying.
Absolutely.
I understand that there is a Mr. Wilson who is originally from Michigan. And so I wanted to ask Mr. Wilson if he's able to speak on his experience up until the point of graduation. I'm looking for your face, but I don't see you.
This is right here.
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm fine, how are
If you
you?
can speak on your experience up until graduation, I appreciate it. And share it with us.
My experience was pretty cool. It was dope. It was different. But coming from Detroit or whatever, like I also went to a junior college in Detroit, and it's a little different because like at Reinhardt, I can't remember ever having like a black professor or nothing like that. And my I had professors that were both black and both white, and they had different backgrounds. And my counselor was black, and like you get to see the representation. Like people always big on like representation and knowing that like, okay, this is possible, or you got somebody who understands your circumstances and stuff like that. But Reinhardt was cool. Like like you really don't have to sell Reinhardt. Reinhardt is like a good community or whatever. And but going outside into the community like or Cannon or Leslie and stuff like that, you will see. I like the Confederate flags don't really bother me too much or nothing like that because they're not gonna say anything to me and stuff like that. They just feel how they feel. So it's just like, okay, whatever. Like you're probably really not gonna do much to me, so I don't really feel that. But I mean like you probably will get your guard up and stuff like that. Like, oh, okay, like just, you know what I'm saying, just watch how you move or whatever. But like the representation thing is big for me. Like I connected with Miss Austin a lot. Like I probably even talked to her like how if she was my counselor or something like that. So but knowing that there's somebody there for you and stuff like that, that you can, because people just gravitate who they gravitate to, and most of the time people gravitate to somebody who looks like them. So that's where you're gonna go to and lean on. So that's a big thing for me. And but I mean, like Reinhardt is really cool. It is. But most of the places where you see the black faculty is mostly in the kitchen where you see everybody. It's like, okay, this is where everybody at, I guess, you know. So it's just a little different. Like I said, because I had professors that was black, I had counselors that was black, you know, and my coaches were black. So, you know, so it's just a little different. But everybody was welcoming. I don't think nobody ever like had any side looks towards me or nothing like that or whatever. But like I have like a major amount of tattoos, so people were thrown off.
That's funny.
I apologize. I'm sneaking a work break.
That's fine. You were saying you people were commenting on your tattoos and everything.
Yeah, so like you know, for some at Reinhardt, I'm the first time they ever seen a black person and stuff like that, and so they probably don't know much about, you know, a black person. So when they see me, they standoffish and stuff like, oh my God, like I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, because if you watch the news, it's a lot of, they probably promote like a lot of bad stuff about black people. So it's like whenever you hear about a black person, you only hear bad stuff. So when you see a black person, you go think bad stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, that's what they showing. That's what they be on. So they see me and it's like crazy until you get to know me and it's like, oh, he's actually cool. He's funny. You know what I'm saying? So, but outside of that type of stuff, Reinhardt is really cool.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for using your work break for that, but go back to work.
All right.
Very important.
I do definitely agree that Reinhardt has that potential to kind of work towards a better understanding of other people who are different from your own and what you've been surrounded by, just because of that genuine love that is kind of found on campus.
I have a question for Mr. Wilson.
I'm here. I didn't leave. I'm here.
Okay. I'm curious. I'm very interested in how you talked about that you have tattoos and you walk into a place and you're aware that some people may look at you and say, I really don't know what this person is about, and they may think about movies or television shows and start stereotyping you. just by the way you look, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so are you very conscious of that and try to disarm them by being overly kind, or do you just sort of allow them to figure that out for themselves? Do you
Me,
understand?
yeah, no, I get it. Me, I ain't gonna say I don't want to disarm you, but like I know it might be that because people came, told me after a while, but they come up to me and they, however we go about engaging in normal activities or whatever the situation may bring about, then they will open up and say, oh my God, like you're different from how I even thought, you know what I'm saying, would think somebody like you is. So like, I'm not trying to just, hey, I see that you're something, you know what I'm saying? I'm fine. I just really just be myself. I'm gonna walk around, I'm gonna be myself. And if you want to give it time to even figure it out, you'll see.
Gotcha. Good. That's a good way to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. I'm looking at our time, and I wanted to pose a question, not just for the African American students, but all people who are there here involved in this call. What would you like to see moving forward at Reinhardt University when it comes to the cultural diversity and experience on campus? What would you like to see? If you could paint a perfect picture for yourself, what would it be? What would it look like?
I don't know if I could paint a perfect picture, but we could work towards it as a group. But like I said, the representation is big, and probably more exposing and being flamboyant with just expressing, your love for the Black community. You know what I'm saying? Just being so open with it instead of just on, and instead of just in February we just, oh, this is our time to celebrate. Like, no, like. People like African Americans or Blacks, they do great things, no matter the time of the year. Like, just like express it like, oh my God, this happened, and such is going on. Let's celebrate this birthday because we wouldn't even know life without, we can't imagine life without this type of whatever just happened, So like just stuff like that, just to be openly, reverence, like we can have a meal like I don't know, but a meal that a Black chef inspired and brought about or something like that. I don't know, just crazy things, but you just overly express it like, yo, we love your culture, we love you as a whole, and just things like that. That would just go a long way.
Thank you. I see some people are also adding some of their ideas. Someone says Black Lives Matter signs, celebrating Black history. It would be cool to have a cultural night, like a few times a year. Foods. Yeah, and they agree with Mr. Wilson about trying different cultural foods. So, those are some ideas maybe to take note on and try to implement. Judah or anyone else have any ideas?
One thing this would kind of specifically pertain to the musical theater department. But for example, it would be cool if we kind of do, instead of just the Black History Month program every year, we could try to dedicate some other smaller productions, or even just some other productions in general that kind of feature Black figures in history, and just kind of talk about Black culture as a whole. That's kind of like more of a celebration and a showcase of Black music, dance, poetry, music, and stuff like that. And I think it would just kind of be a good idea to expose more of the Black influence on theater and performance as a whole, and just have more opportunities to kind of share that with people.
And you're talking from someone who's on the outside looking in. Do you all have the groups in place to help do that and organize that and facilitate that, and support from leadership in order to make that happen?
Yes, I think also more of instructors having kind of a hand in that would also kind of help to promote more diversity and inclusion within the department as a whole. Because I know that last year was the second annual Black History Month program, and it was kind of just student produced. And I think it would just make us feel a little bit more welcomed if, you know, faculty members came in and said, you know, what can I do to help? How can I help you to make this show the way that you want it to be?
Mm-hmm. And someone made a good point. They say that we have cultural events on campus a lot, but they're not well attended. What do we need to do differently?
Oh, is this somebody else or is it still me?
No, whoever has thoughts on that, what can be done differently? If you all are having cultural events on campus, but you see that there's not a lot of folks participating, you know, what can we do moving forward to get people more engaged and more excited about it?
Hi, I'm Jake Harney. I'm the provost. I think the faculty would be very interested in getting more involved in this. I think that the timing and the urgency of what's going on brings it to the surface of all of our educational, regardless of our discipline. And this is all about relationships. And I always tell people that every significant thing in your life occurs within the context of relationships, you know, marriages, weddings, kids, family accomplishments. Everything that you do becomes greater when it's done with those that you care about. And I think that, you know, that's what we want the Reinhardt community to be. We want it to be that place where everybody feels comfortable, where everybody can live their life and share their existence with others that equally care about them and equally want them to succeed. I think that, you know, the wonderful thing about a college community is the diversity across age, across everything. You just have so much intellectual energy. You have every person brings a story, and every person's story is important because it is what got them here. And when they come here, they become a part of the family. And that continues on even when they leave. You know, we want our students to know when they leave here that they're still connected here and that they still come back to us, and that they still share their successes with us. And if necessary, they come to us for help in times of struggle. But I think it's all about creating that sense of community where we all care. And as the academic leader, I would, you know, commit myself to encouraging that from the faculty side, to be that involved, to take ownership with the students, and to make this, it's going to work the best if everybody has a stake in it. And I'll work on our stake.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
I did.
Gina, you have a question?
Yes, I did.
Martha?
So this is again just from personal experience as a musical theater major. One of the scheduled shows that we were going to do this year before the coronavirus came and canceled everything. Tear. But we were going to do the show Ragtime. And I remember just looking at the Black student body we have in the music theater department. And last year we had an overwhelming amount of students of color, but most of them graduated back in the spring semester. And there is not the same amount of students of color in the program now. And I just kind of wanted to ask, what plans are there in place to try and recruit more people of color and just promote that more of that inclusivity. So that way there's like a well-rounded student body of all different shades, all different backgrounds, and all different cultures.
Well, this is Mark Roberts. You know, when we are recruiting, we go out to all kinds of high schools, and we communicate with probably about 10,000 students a year, inviting them to take a look at Reinhardt, see if this might be a good place for them, where they might be able to find a good education and a sense of belonging. We have seen certainly the increase. I came in 2013, I believe. And over that 7-year period, I've seen a growing trend in particularly African-American students, but also in Latino students. And that has been very gratifying. I think what actually is kind of interesting about Reinhardt, and when I applied to come to Reinhardt, one of the reasons I was very excited about it was because it was a small private institution that had a really extraordinary diversity within the context of private higher education institutions. A lot of institutions that are about 1,500 students tend to be about 90 to 95% white, and that's just not the case at Reinhardt. And I think that makes for a very vibrant educational experience. But I mean, to specifically answer your question, you know, we do everything that we can to bring as many students to the table and invite them to check out what Reinhardt has to offer. And hopefully they will apply, and we will go through that admissions process and encourage them to, if they have the right background and academic ability, then we invite them to come to our campus.
Mr. Roberts, do you know the percentage, and I hate to throw this at you just because I was thinking about it, the percentage of African-American students with Reinhardt, you know, the Latino students, Asian American. Do you know that background, that breakdown at all?
It's Walter, you may be able to help me a little bit here, but I think that it's about 20% or 22% African-American and about 10% Latino.
Yes.
So overall, about over 30% we would describe as minority or underserved, or however you wish to describe that. What do you think, Walter? Is that right?
That's about right. And with also over 250 of our students are first generation on our campus. And he's right, about 10%, a little over 10% of our students are international. So we have a very diverse population for a school our size, our type. I think one of the things that, from my perspective, and I've been at Reinhardt for a long time, about 20 years, and I've seen this grow. But I think that on the flip side, as Reinhardt, one of the things we have to do as we move forward is put the infrastructure and services and resources in place to serve these students. I think we can get them here, but I think we got to do a better job of maintaining, keeping them, and making sure they thrive.
Right. And feel that sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I also kind of want to take this time to let Black students and students of color let them know about the group that I'm the president of, the DREAMS program. And DREAMS basically stands for the Development of Rationally Empowered African Americans Motivating Society. And it's a student union that kind of acts as a safe haven for Black students on campus, where they feel if they're being underrepresented or they need certain needs to be met, that group is kind of there to help support them. And we're kind of there to also participate in other events and cultural events that, you know, specifically showcase our culture, who we are as a people. And it's overall an outlet for Black students and for minority students to feel like they have a voice on the campus and feel like they have a way in which they can be heard.
I know working for the
I see
last
Denisha
number,
clapping up there. Sorry, go ahead, Dr. May.
I know working closely with the Dreams group, and I think that's one of the things that finding and building those safe havens, those landing pads for our students, that sense of belonging from, with Dreams, with ALICE, with our Hispanic students, International Student Association, all these different groups are key to finding sense of belonging for our students. But, for me, it's, looking at how do we, take that point. One of the things we're going to be doing, launching in September, is a task group that will further explore the Black student experience at Reinhardt and really develop those action steps. So this is kind of our launching pad for that, to kind of develop. I'm actually been writing a list of things that we need to address and look at and ask questions about. And, I think that Reinhardt is at a point, and I was looking at some of the comments and things, I think we are a safe place. And I think that, flip side is, I don't think that we've done near enough. I know we haven't for our students of color. And, I think we need to do a lot more. And so I think that's one of the things that, but, socially I need is feedback of what we need to address. What are pieces that are missing? What are more resources to bring to bear? Things like that.
Yes, and I'll also be sure to send out information about when we're recruiting students and the first couple of meetings for people to join and become a member of the Dreams program as well.
You may have an overflow of membership this year based off of the number of people who are on this call. And Denisha's clapping again.
Yeah,
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
I hope she does have an overflow of membership. That'd be great.
Yeah. And I think, Dr. May, you brought up a good point. The question is, what are those blind spots that maybe the school is missing right now? What are the students really wanting? And I think this is a good opportunity to, have people, address that, if they wanted to, just throw some things out there that they would like to see moving forward. I'm opening this up to anyone. I'm spanning my screen here to see if I could call on anybody here. Let's see here. I've heard from Sterling and Jamie. But Sterling, I'm gonna call on you again and let you speak, and I'm gonna look for other faces too. So what things would you like to see?
Sterling is the former president of Dreams.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that. That's why he's quiet. Okay. Well, Denisha, help me out. Give me a current student, please, that you see on the call.
Don't let him off the hook that easily. Sterling, go ahead. Answer the question.
Oh, Sterling, I tried to help you. I tried to help you out. she hooked you back in. Go ahead.
So the question was correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. What would you like to see from Dreams specifically, or just on campus in general?
I think both. What can both groups do to make it a better experience and serve our students better?
Honestly, yeah, on campus, I think there needs to be like some kind of way that we can get more people of color that in the community and stuff to come in to show leadership and give people an avenue of things to achieve. Because you understand that you said stuff about first generational, and they might not have individuals in their life that they can look up to and strive to be. So just bringing in individuals that can strive to be, just bringing in people that can just speak out and give people encouragement. Dreams specifically, I guess basically as an organization, they can do different events that will bring people all cultures and anything and explain different topics that you usually don't see every day, basically, and just have different events that at the same time will be fun and actually have things that students would actually want to do. So I don't know like specifically what event that would be or what you can really do right now, but basically with COVID, but honestly, whenever this ends and you do get back to where you don't have to social distance as much and things become more of it won't go back to normal how it was, but more normal than we are right now. It's just having different ways that you can basically connect broken cultures, basically. Or, well, not really broken cultures, but just connect cultures in a way where people can understand others and want to do that more often.
I did see someone in the chat not too long ago say that, something they also wanted to see was recruitment of more staff members of color to just, like Sterling said, to for students to have someone to look up to, feel like they have someone they can trust and someone that relates to them in a faculty position.
And I think Mr. Wilson hit on that pretty well too. Yes, very good. I'm scanning and I'm looking, and I know Jamie Palmer is an alumni too, but I'm going to call on him as well because he's been so eloquent in speaking about his experience. So.
Well, I don't have much to add. Honestly, everybody said some great stuff, especially Sterling. Like, I mean, that's kind of it, really. It's communication, connecting, and trying to find better ways to, I guess you could say, have cultural events at a better time. I know when I was there, part of the issue was when we had the International Cultural Fest and things like that. That was during school, like that was during class hours. So it was hard for a lot of people to get there because it was either your choice of, if your professor didn't let you out, then you had to like miss class in order to go. So trying to have that at a time that is beneficial to everyone, or making it a little bit more appealing, and I don't mean appealing in a bad way, more known across the faculty when it's going to happen, so that everyone can kind of be engaged at the same time. Another thing I would say is more diverse organizations. I know when I was there, we had kind of started Greek Life, and we looked for society that kind of focused on diversity itself, which is why we chose for the male one at first, Kappa Sigma. And I know a lot of people are looking for more cultural societies as well, but that takes the emphasis of people wanting to actually go out there and engage those societies and actually trying to take the initiative themselves to bring it in. So I think there's ways to do it. I think it's just communication again between students and what they want, and communicating that with faculty, especially Walter May, and seeing where you can go from there.
You're right. When we were starting the discussions of Greek life and fraternity sorority life at Reinhardt, we've continued recently getting questions about why we don't have historically Black fraternities and sororities on campus. And actually, I would love to have them here. Actually, we spent the 6 months, 8 months of building out, recruiting, or doing a prospectus for fraternity sorority lives. We spent months cultivating relationships with our historically Black fraternity sororities, and we weren't able to make the connection to come to campus. And so that's one of the things that's still on my list I want to tackle. I think they'd be fabulous on our campus. I think we have a population now for them to grow. And I think it would be really a wonderful experience for our students. So that's one thing that's on my list to do.
I am researching.
I know largely for us, part of it too is, and I come from a government background, and I still work in a local government, and kind of the thing for us in government speak is, you just get it there and then you can expand on it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of was the plan with Greek Life, was we got it there and now it's time to expand on it. So in that emphasis, I think it's, Walter, you engaging, and students who want to see some things like Zeta Phi Beta or Omega Psi Phi kind of come to campus. I think they'd be more than willing. It's just trying to get, students engaged. And if that's what they want to see, then they need to take the step forward to do it.
Yep.
I did have, I'm sorry, who was going to speak?
I was gonna make note of a comment, but Judah, if you have a question or something that you want to say, by all means, go ahead.
Okay. A comment in the chat or something, because I want to make sure you say what you wanted to say.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I had just one more question since we're kind of wrapping up. I wanted to know, we talked about how we were going to try and implement training for instructors to learn more about cultural sensitivity and kind of just have that training so they'll be able to connect with all types of people and just have that empathy and be able to see past, what's on the outside and be able to be able to compensate for whatever needs they may need. That being said, it's one thing to have that for the instructors. It's another thing to also have that for the students. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of curious as to how instructors were kind of planning to incorporate some kind of cultural studies of other people of color, like African Americans, Asian history and other things like that into the mainstream curriculum if possible, and how instructors were going to kind of do more to also educate the students about cultural sensitivity and diversity and just that openness to other types of people.
Mm-hmm. Hi, this is Professor Wheeler, and I think that's a great question. And of course, Reinhardt has, ongoing curricular development. And I think, what I've seen in a few decades at Reinhardt is that, professors are very interested in making the curriculum reflect the sorts of educational needs that we all have. And I think that in many areas we've done a lot with the curriculum, and I think that professors are very willing to do more. And so I think that in part, I don't want to put the burden on students, but when students sign up for certain classes, it indicates all across the campus that these are topics that students are interested in. These are subjects they want to study. And so I think that there's a little bit of, vote with your feet as students, sign up with professors who are clearly culturally sensitive, sign up with professors who are offering classes that spark your interest. And I would say too, that on such a small campus, I think what Provost Harney said earlier is true. Relationships do matter. And one of the ground rules for our conversation tonight, presume good intentions. I thought, oh, that's so good. And I hope that students who feel like they're anxious about talking to professors who are clearly, from a different background, that students would presume good intentions on the part of the professor. If there are problems within the class, sometimes professors just aren't aware. And it's wonderful when students are willing to speak up and just say, I felt like I really need to let you know, what's going on, or that incident in class really mattered. And I think what you'll find on the Reinhardt faculty is that there are so many people who are interested, willing, they want to engage with all students. And at a small school like Reinhardt, we ought to be able to have those kinds of conversations in a supportive environment of inquiry. And I know that some of those conversations do happen, and I'd love to see more of them.
Yeah, one student just posted, can we have a day just to meet everyone from different cultures, like a cultural awareness day? You were talking about it being a smaller university, maybe that's something that you all can make happen.
We actually do. Actually, every spring there's a International Cultural Fest Day where we have all the different cultures of campus, banners, flags out. It's out in front of the Student Center and in the Glass House. It's kind of gone over where it's kind of outgrown its spaces a lot. And so it's a wonderful day and wonderful experience. One thing about the curriculum, in the first year seminar, a lot of our students are in it. Actually, a whole section of the curriculum is actually on diversity, inclusion, the privilege and all that. So it's already built in to that first year experience. We know that oftentimes when you come to a new institution or come to a university experience, it's like landing on the moon. So we want to expose you to a lot of different topics and a lot of things that you will be confronted with during that first year.
Very good. One other question is, can a white student join the program Dreams and learn from it? Of course, they can learn from it, but I was actually thinking about this as you were talking about it, Judah. Can people from other backgrounds and ethnicities join Dreams? You're on mute.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and I think this is also a question that I would appreciate Miss Denisha and Sterling to also chime in on. Personally, I feel that they can definitely learn from it. And, you know, Dreams is all about just like inclusivity. And there's definitely opportunities for other people to kind of learn about the people within Dreams. As far as joining it,
it's a diversity group.
Yeah. Yeah, so I definitely think they can join it if that's something they're interested in.
Very good.
Students know Ian Schumacher on campus. Ian actually was a member of Dreams.
And I think one thing about Reinhardt is our student organizations are all open to anybody to join. Now, Honor Society is a little bit different. You got to actually work to earn those. But you can join any organization. You know, that's one thing I love about Reinhardt is you have a diverse group of organizations. Some years 30 to 40 organizations to be part of. This year it's going to be unique. A lot of them will be meeting virtually, so actually you can come in your pajamas now. Maybe you did earlier. But you know, so I think there's a lot of opportunity for students, and that's what we want that experience to be. We want the college experience at Reinhardt to be like a buffet, to pick and choose, to try new things, sample the you know, different ingredients that are out there, try new things, explore and grow. That's what it's all about.
Someone asked, where do we find the clubs? I know I'm on Student Activities Council. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I can send out a flyer with the information about who to contact, how to sign up, when the first meeting is going to be.
And I will send a link to all the student organizations real quick. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, Dr. May, I didn't want to be remiss and leave out this comment. And I think it probably is a good segue in keeping in mind with the time that we have left. Someone says that as a minority here, they feel like the things that we're talking about, implementing and furthering on campus should be every year, and not just when they feel like Black Lives Matter is a trend. And I think that speaks to this cultural shift I think that you guys are trying to have on campus. Would you mind speaking to that, or Judah or Dr. May or anyone there about that idea?
I definitely think that is a wonderful idea, because we tend to label these kinds of talks as, you know, other, or, you know, when it's convenient, or when I have time to get to it. And it kind of gets dismissed. An unhealthy amount of times it gets dismissed. And I feel like this is something we should continue to talk about, because dismantling systemic racism is already going to take a long amount of time. And when we just kind of dismiss it and save it for times when it's convenient, we kind of prolong that amount of time in which we are going to already have to spend trying to mend things and make them right. And I definitely agree that it would be a great idea to have something like this, a conversation like this every year, so that way we can just kind of check in, you know, hey, how are you feeling at Reinhardt? Do you feel like your needs are getting met? You know, what can we do to help you or better your experience? And I feel like that's a big step in the right direction when we start addressing this issue and stop, you know, just dismissing it because, you know, we don't feel like it, or it's inconvenient, or, you know, it's happening in the world and we just have to talk about it.
You're so correct. And that's one thing that I'm hoping, we've created several task groups that meet actually ongoing. Like this past fall, we implemented the first year experience task group that's ongoing, meets regularly, which has students, faculty, staff on it. This spring we implemented the international student task group. And this fall we'll be implementing the Black Student Experience Task Group. And that group will be meeting consistently, multiple, at least once a month or more for the rest of for the duration. And hopefully in the spring, once we get the Black Student Experience group going, I'm going to switch gears and get the Hispanic student group going. So one of my goals is to have these pods that we keep conversations going, that we have guidance advisory boards and things to help us move the institution forward on lots of different fronts.
Thank you for that. Now, in light of the times, I know that this is the evening at 7:57 and don't want to keep everyone too late. What we typically like to do is close out with someone to give a thought and try to encapsulate the discussion that we have. And I hate to put people on the spot, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to ask if Dr. Harney could close us out. But before he does that, I would like to remind everyone that first of all, thank you for attending this session. Our next will be September 28th, where we'll be talking about steps to take to dismantle racism. So that'll be our next conversation that we'll have. But Dr. Harney, if you can close us out for the evening, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Well, I want to, this has really been a wonderful experience for me, to sit here and to listen all of the different points of view and experiences. And I guess I would just say that as a community, we're all committed to working together to make all of our lives better and to give us all opportunities to thrive in whatever situation that we are in. And this is a very special opportunity. And I would just like to thank everyone, Student Affairs, everybody that has brought this to fruition. I want to see this move forward. I want to see us all come together as a caring educational community. And I thank God for blessing us all with this opportunity to be together and to make a difference in each other's lives as well as the lives of those around us. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harney. And please tune in for next month, September 28th. All right, you guys have a great evening. Thank you so much for attending and participating.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all for having me. This is great.
Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
Thank you.
And be sure to join Dreams.
Yes. It'll be the most you have ever in the history of Dreams. Thank you. Thank you, Gita.
Thank you.
Kanika, you do a great job.
Thank you guys, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks for everything. Walter, I'll talk to you shortly, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Thank you, guys.
It's good to see you, Professor Wheeler.
You're looking Thank you so much. It's nice to see you too.
Yeah. Well,
Dr. Wheeler, we really appreciate it.
It's getting pretty dark there, but yes, we do.